Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, today we're going to get the chassis rolled back down to the shop and up underneath the body. And usually I kind of know how these videos are going to go before I start shooting them. Today I have no idea what's going to happen. If we roll that down there and I got my measurements wrong and that stuff's sticking up a little too high and it doesn't fit, then it's coming right back to the garage. We're going to have to rework it. But fingers crossed I got all my measurements right and it'll fit up in there nice. So the plan is, get it off our homemade redneck jig here and gingerly roll it down to the shop. Those tacks are pretty small. I don't want any of them break, but yeah, it's just time to get this thing off here and see what happens. Okay, as you can see, I got the axles in and the wheels on. Those are just rollers. That's not what I'm using on the car. But I had to make some kind of homemade wood bearings for the axles to ride in right there. That's just some MDF. I use a hole saw on. So that's going to work out pretty good. And I've got my shock braces in there, replacing the shocks. And I was kind of thinking about, you know, how do I want to get this off this jig here? So I was going to cut it loose, but I thought, you know what? I'm just going to leave those tacked on and I'm just going to unbolt it from the uprights and just leave those on there. I think it'll help, you know, possibly when we're holding it up underneath the body. So I don't really want to cut them loose. So we will if we have to, but for now, I think we're just going to get this thing unbolted, raised up and back on the ground on some rollers and get going. Whoa! It rolls once again. Not when I want it to. All right, let's get the front off on the ground and get it out of here. All right. It moves. We get all this stuff out of the way and see what happens here. Okay, got it on a furniture dolly in the front. It's actually sitting higher than it will when the car's done. But the back is lower by a ½ inch. Those rims and tires are smaller than what I'll be running. But I like the stance. I like the way it looks. I think it looks pretty cool. It's nice to get it back on at least 2 of the wheels. All right, let's roll this thing down to the shop and see what happens. It doesn't get away from me here. All right. Well, we made it down here without crashing. All right, let's figure out how we're gonna get that body up in the air so we can get this thing underneath it. All right, I think the first thing we should do is get this thing as low as possible. So let's go ahead and get the wheels off. Okay, we got these rollers here. I think it'll hold it up off the ground to keep everything from touching. Lower we are, the better. That way I don't have to raise the body as high. And if it's not very high, it's not as sketchy. All right. Not super low, but way lower than having it on the tires, and I don't have to worry about the tires trying to fit underneath there or anything else. So I think we need to get the rotisserie back in action and at least lift the back of it with the rotisserie, and then we'll just figure out the front. Okay, here's the setup. I've got a piece of 2x2 perforated going across there. I've got a couple of bolts going through the body mount, just through it, just to keep it from sliding or rolling off or something. I got Dave's big tall jack stands, and I've got one rotisserie base in the back, so it's just going to work by itself. So I need to get this thing like 2 feet off the ground to get that rolled underneath there. So I'm just going to jack it up a little bit here, a little bit there, just keep raising it up, and then we'll take the cart out from underneath and then get it high as we need it, and then see if we can roll that chassis up underneath there, see if it's going to fit. There's always something sketchy doing this stuff. My jack don't go high enough. It could fall off there, but it'll land on the cart. A little sketchy, but not that big a deal. So good. Okay, we're looking pretty good. I don't know if it's going to clear or not, but let's raise the chassis up to the body a little bit. That bar, that piece of 2x2 I got in the front is covering the body mount, so we need to get the car lowered down a little bit and then raise the chassis up to it, I think. Yeah, that's probably best. Okay, we're getting close. I got a jack underneath the back there, and I've got the engine hoist over here in the front with a strap, so I can get that 2x2 square tubing out of there. So I think what I'll like to do is just lower the body down onto the frame, and then we'll go in the back and raise the frame up to the body, and hopefully it all fits. All right, I did my best to try to get the frame right underneath where it goes, so let's get this out of here. The car's being held up by a board underneath where the gas tank goes, and we are just about ready to lower this thing down. And let's see what happens here. We're going to lower the body down onto the chassis. It looks pretty lined up, so let's see what happens here. All right, I don't know what that noise was, but we're going to keep going. Okay, that's it. All right, let's get in there and take a look, see if everything cleared. Okay guys, it is close. I got my measurements right on, I think. I can't fit my finger up in there, but I can fit a stir stick up inside there. So yeah, we have some clearance. I can't really see. I'm going to look from the outside, see how much there is, but it's looking pretty good. Let me move the light and we'll take a look at the rest of it. Okay, I can barely get my finger, part of my little finger underneath that, between the sheet metal and that tube, but we are looking pretty good. Let's change angles and check up by those shock mounts. Okay, it looks like we have plenty of clearance on the front there, so that's really good. I guess measuring it 20 times paid off finally. So yeah, it's all going to work. We don't have to redo it. Now we can try to get this body kind of squared up on this chassis, so we can start thinking about getting the radiator support on. All right, we got the body bolted to the chassis and it's all squared up and straight. I spent quite a bit of time making sure it was front to back and left to right even, nice and even. So it is bolted down in 6 locations, 3 on each side. That's not all the locations, but it's good enough to hold it, keep it from moving while we do the fenders and the door gaps and all that stuff. So pretty happy to get that locked down. And I even threw a wheel on there just for fun. It's kind of neat to see it with wheel on again, huh? So this isn't the size tire, obviously, I'm gonna run an 18-inch rim and a bigger tire. So the rim will actually come to right about just above the letters right there, and then the rest will be tires. So it'll be larger diameter rim, larger diameter tire, so it will fill that wheel well up a lot more than that one is. But it's kind of neat to see it like that. So it's time to get the radiator support on. So yeah, we pretty much wrapped this one up. Now, ran into a little bit of a problem here. So I got the bushing kit from OPGI, and I also get this new radiator support from OPGI. And here's the deal. So on the factory, this is upside down. The bushing goes in here. On the factory one, the distance from here to here is 3/4 of an inch. On this one, it's 7/8 of an inch. So the bushing actually doesn't sit proud right there. So this is actually going to dig into the snout right here, the horn on the frame, and it's not going to work right. So mine was pushed down. If you look at a lot of them, they are pushed down till it's basically touching. You're supposed to shim underneath here to get that to the right height. But I think what I want to do, since we're only doing fit up and I don't want anything moving, I want everything perfectly level, I'm going to cut some wood blocks and replace those for now to bolt that radiator support on. So what I really need is probably a 1-inch block. So let me see what I can come up with, maybe a piece of 3/4 inch wood and then some big washers that'll take up the next 1/4 inch. So give me a second to figure that out and I'll be right back. Okay, I found some MDF that's 1/2 inch thick, so I made 2 blocks for each side. That gives us 1 inch. So we're ready to install. It took me forever to find some bolts. I'm running out of bolts in my junk drawer. Let's just set this on here. So having it exactly 1 inch is going to help us when we're installing the fenders and the doors. So we'll know that both sides are perfectly level and even, and we didn't crush some rubber grommet down more on one side than the other. And then later when we go to build the car, we know that this was 1 inch, and so we can reproduce that with shims and bushings or whatever. I'm not a big fan of that radiator support kit, or the bushings that came with that kit, so they don't look anywhere close to what I remember seeing in the assembly manual. All right, let's get the tape measure. I want to get equal distance this way. We're just going to kind of get it squared up a little bit, get it tightened, and that should be good. Okay, it's on there pretty solid. We got it measured. I just went from the mounts right here forward, so I'm assuming those are at the correct position. And that's just to get us started. Once we get the fenders up here, if we need to jockey that around a little bit, that'll be fine. Get the left to right correct, even though it looks good right now. It may need a little bit of tweaking, but I think it's looking pretty good right there. Okay guys, that wraps up this video on getting the chassis back underneath the body and bolt it all together, and I'm super happy and very relieved that that all fit. I can't believe I was really seriously considering kind of raising that up a little bit more before I tacked it together. You know, I gave myself quite a bit of wiggle room, 3/8 of an inch. I thought, that's too much to give, Mark. You know, take a little bit more, but I'm glad I played it smart and did what I did, so it fit in there just about perfect. So that's really, really good news. I'm really happy about that. So we are just about ready to hang some fenders and doors on here and get those all aligned and start working on those gaps. So I think that's going to be our next video. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.